Good evening, everyone. A man from Buffalo is facing several charges after authorities say he raped a person who hired him to get them safely home from a bar. The DA says the victim was too intoxicated to consent to sex.
This past January, instead of driving that person home, we're told the taxi driver instead took the victim to his house. But today, he is not behind bars. News 4's Trina Catterson spoke with legal experts to find out why. Trina.
Dave and Kelsey, the charge of rape in the first degree is bail eligible. The DA's office requested the defendant to be held without bail, but the judge instead set bail at $75,000. The defendant, 47-year-old Joseph Volk-Varvik, was able to pay and is now walking free. But two legal experts tell me that's not as surprising as it may seem.
I think the governor thought that was unfair and tried to remedy it, and now the pendulum is swinging back the other way.
Bail reform has been a hot topic in New York State since Governor Hochul's new legislation went into effect at the start of 2020. The law aims to reduce the risk that someone would be jailed because they could not afford to pay for release. But two legal analysts I spoke to say this case is not an issue of bail reform.
So I'm assuming what happened here is that the judge looked at it, saw that he had solid roots in the community, maybe long time, lived here, family, employed here, no criminal record, and said, we'll set a bail at $75,000. It's not an unusual event.
There is a preference for setting bail. The courts are supposed to focus on what are the chances that an individual returns to court. They're also now allowed to look at other factors such as dangerousness to the community.
In this situation, the victim was allegedly incapable of consent due to being intoxicated. Connors says there is a big debate about intoxication in New York State, especially if the alcohol was consumed willingly. He says we can expect to hear this argument used by the defense team in court.
There is some body of thought that the defense can argue if the intoxication was voluntary, that should be taken into consideration when you're trying to determine the consent of the individual who alleged to have been victimized.
Regardless of the level of intoxication, both experts say the consent aspect is the #1 factor that will be evaluated in this case.
So there's a lot of variables that are at play in cases like this. They're very serious, and the district attorney's office always handles them very, very seriously and very well. But they can be very complicated, and it really is a fact-by-fact, case-by-case analysis of whether you can prove it beyond a reasonable doubt.
She or he cannot be incapacitated. So the issue of intoxication and the degree of intoxication will play a role as to whether or not the individual was able to consent. That will be the focal point of the trial, and the jury will decide.
A return court date has not been scheduled at this time, but both experts say if this case does go to trial, it will be several months from now. If convicted, he faces a maximum sentence of 25 years in prison. In the newsroom, Trina Catterson, News 4.